The much anticipated return of the platform fighter Multiversus is almost upon us, and I am a huge fan of the series and I could not be more excited. I was there during the closed alpha and I was there through the whole beta. I am in love with Multiversus, but I understand that the game does have a monumental task to achieve. Essentially, what Multiversus needs to do is re-ingratiate itself into the fighting game community and create a player base that will subsist for years to come. And I have some ideas about how they can do that and survive for years into the future and not really have to worry about being the Smash killer or the Brawlhalla killer or whatever title that people want to place upon it, but standing out in its own separate realm as its own individual game, the way that other games in the fighting game community have carved out their own separate niche. No one looks at Tekken and says, well, why isn't Tekken Mortal Kombat? And no one looks at Mortal Kombat and says, well, why isn't Mortal Kombat Street Fighter? I believe that Multiversus can be that third pillar in the platform fighting community. I believe that it can go Super Smash Bros., Brawlhalla, and Multiversus. So let's look at my list of 10 ideas that I think could be feasibly implemented into the game to make it a standout, phenomenal gaming experience. Number 1, add super moves to the game. As it sits currently, Multiversus does not have any super move or final ability function in the game. I think adding super moves for all characters will add another layer of gameplay and fun to be had within the game. One thing that people love to engage with are the flashy super moves. If you go across all kinds of content sharing sites like TikTok and YouTube, you'll find compilations or edits with people showing super moves from a whole bunch of video games. They can be cinematic, really cool things to engage with in video games, and they're always really fun, unique character expressions for the characters that you play as. And I think that will really help people get back into playing the game or even play the game for the first time. Just watching those compilations on YouTube or something like that, I think that's something that a lot of people do, and I think it's one of the main reasons a game like Mortal Kombat has been so popular for so long. The fatalities, of course we don't want something so graphic and so violent, but fatalities are something that everyone always looks forward to. So adding in these really cool cinematic super moves, I think will really help boost the game's popularity. Number 2, arcade mode with arcade endings. Again, from the Mortal Kombat universe, having an arcade mode gives players an alternative way to engage with the video game. One of the biggest ways you can keep your game alive is by feeding the casual audience. Of course, people enjoy watching pro players or playing a ranked mode or a more competitive mode, but that's not what keeps players playing for years. The reason why players stay in a game is because they have fun with the casual modes, and I think an arcade mode would really help with that. Make it so that you go through 10 or so fights with gradually increasing difficulty, and then at the end have these cool creative image stills showing an arcade ending with some kind of narratively interesting and respectful to the character's canon in-universe ending, going over how winning the arcade mode affected them and engaging with the Multiversus universe affected them in their own individual realities. I think there are so many different cool ideas that you can do, and Tony Hyun, if you're watching this, I have a list of arcade endings that I'll be more than happy to send over to you with storyboard stuff and everything. And if you're looking for someone to voice over the arcade endings. Number 3, More interesting characters. I think Multiversus has access to a lot of characters with the WB brand, but I think unfortunately towards the end of the initial beta period, they added some characters that I would personally say weren't all that interesting, and I think that they should make an effort to add more quote-unquote cool characters. I think the spread should go for every silly character you add, like the Gremlin or Martian Manhunter or something like that, you add 5 cool characters. So let's say the game comes back out and they add Daffy Duck. For every Daffy Duck, you should have a Scorpion, Italian, the Flash, Joker. You should have a couple of cool characters as well. I think everyone loves having a few silly characters, but if you just keep stacking up silly characters on top of silly characters, I think people won't be as engaged with jumping back into the game, because a lot of the times the reason why people fall out of love with a fighting game is that they have a character crisis. They may like a character, but they may not be very good with the character, so they're looking for an alternative character to play. And if they just keep adding silly characters over and over again, I think you run into the possibility of having people completely check out because they don't have anyone cool to play, as it were. Also, on the better characters point in general, I think they should also make an effort to add a lot more fan favorites. We all know Warner Brothers characters that people love. The more of them, the better. Number 4. More casual friendly modes. This is where I think Multiversus should borrow from Super Smash Bros. Super Smash Bros. Has a lot of casual friendly modes. All of their items that they have that you can turn on and play with really transforms the game and really keeps it fresh and not uninteresting. Adding more stages that have wacky concepts or things that you have to navigate around during the fight would also add to the fun factor of it, so that players who don't really care as much about the competitive aspect of it have that ability to play something that's a little bit more wacky and a little less serious. So I think adding sillier modes, maybe like a beach volleyball mode or a blitz mode where you have to keep fighting characters that constantly tag into the match. So every time you knock a character out, a new character joins, and it's basically a rush to see how many you do. And there's a global leaderboard. Our Multiverse player XX1 took out 150 enemies in the Blitz mode. Something like that, I think, will also be a pretty engaging thing for the more casual audience. Number 6, a tournament mode. Just a plain tournament that people can jump into and play at any point. Just online matchmaking. It doesn't even have to be skill-based matchmaking. Just where people can stack up in a 10-player tournament and get to the top and get a trophy and maybe get a cosmetic for winning the tournament mode. Just something basic. It doesn't really have to be that in-depth, just a regular tournament mode. Number 7, more unlockables in general. Players really like the feeling of achievement and getting something for playing the game more. So some ideas that I had for unlockables in general would be things like loading screens. So what you could do is put in concept art from the development of the game as loading screens, or maybe some cool fan art, and you can give credit to the fan artists online so that people can go find these artists as well and get permission from them to include them in the game. Use those loading screens as transitionary screens during gameplay, between matches and things like that, and unlocking these by playing different modes, maybe winning 100 singles fights, winning 100 doubles fights, winning 100 free-for-alls, or something like that, to where it feels like you're achieving something just by playing the game. Or adding that concept art into a gallery that you unlock these art pieces the more you play the game. Or maybe music tracks, unique music tracks to the game that you can select and play in between menus. Have those be unlockables. Just small stuff like that that give people a sense of accomplishment. Number 8, continue with the really fun marketing and leaning into memes and the community response to things. I think one of the best things that Multiversus did was that retro trailer they released.
The entire multiverse is at your fingertips. Play as some of your favorite made-up make-believe characters, like Shaggy!
Someone say Scooby Snack?
Bugs Bunny!
This means war.
LeBron James.
Let's get it.
You wouldn't download a car, but everyone should download Multiversus.
It was really fun, and a lot of people in the community really enjoyed it. The fact that they leaned into the LeBron James meme. Whoever cut that together and whoever was the brain behind that did an excellent job. And I think more things like that will be super fun. I think maybe releasing more things like the trailer, that animation that we have for the trailer, maybe just simple short stories. I know that might take additional time and voice acting and things like that, but like 1 minute long animations or 2 minute long animations of just the Multiversus characters interacting, seeing Shaggy and Superman interact, or Steven and the Iron Giant interact, just stuff like that I think would be fun for the community and at large, and also bring in a lot of new players. Number 9, so this one is going to be the only one that I don't believe that the developers and most of the team behind the game have any control over. I understand that this is something that's most likely going to be handled by the suits behind the game, but I really think the price for all cosmetics and all microtransactions should be cut down by 75%. That may seem egregious, but here's the thing about consumers. When we feel like we're getting a good deal, when we feel like something is a steal, we are going to spend more money. You can flood the marketplace with skin recolors, with a bunch of skin from every character's respective universe, or voice packs, or whatever. You can add a bunch more cosmetics, but if you take down that price 75%, I guarantee the return on investment will be far higher. It just feels like other games like Fortnite have a similar pricing structure to Multiversus, but they've kind of, for lack of a better word, earned it by being so dominant in the market for so long. It's hard to then tell Fortnite, stop what you're doing. With Multiversus, we have to kind of build that good grace to have these more expensive cosmetics, and having a $20-$25 Superman skin is gonna rub a lot of people the wrong way when you have other games where you can unlock these kind of cosmetics or just customize your character freely, or they just aren't as expensive. Even a game that has garnered a lot of goodwill like Street Fighter 6 has had people freak out over the price of overpriced cosmetics. Like I said, a good deal feels like a steal, and customers pay more. If you look at something and they tell you it's $20 for one, you're probably not going to spend the $20. But if you tell someone it's $20 for 4, then you're gonna say, oh, well, I'm getting 4 things. That's a good deal. I'm only paying $5 a skin. It may not click the same way that, oh, in the end, I'm spending that same $20 because the return on investment feels higher. And number 10, this is gonna seem really sappy, but it's the final thing I think that can really help the game. Continue to have the passion and love that I've already seen exemplified in the product. I see that Tony and the team really love the product that they made. The writers really did a great job writing character interactions. All the voice acting is fantastic. You got so many fan favorite voice actors back. I really see the intention and the love you guys have for the product.
And the game award goes to Multiversus.
Wow, this is absolutely incredible. I just want to thank my family for all the sacrifices, and thank you to Player First Games, a startup, an indie startup that we started with 4 people in a room. Also, thank you, Warner Brothers, for really trusting in us and taking a chance on a brand new studio that hasn't done anything before and giving us this opportunity. And finally, I'd love to thank all the players that have played our game and love our game. Thank you for our community. Thank you, everyone.
And if you continue to show that love, I think that people will respect that and reciprocate that and continue to support you and Multiversus for years to come. Thanks for watching. Behave yourself.